In a place beyond our knowing, silence reigns, darkness, perhaps some light echoes in this vast space. Perhaps it is another world, an ether world of maybe. If spirits among us know what it is, they have never spoken. Perhaps shadows have, over underground in some invisible space, surrounded by air, water, where spirits of creation exist, swimming or zooming outside our comprehension, a place where only imagination through prayer can take us. To a road, perhaps, a passageway stretching long and far deep into the past, perhaps a doorway leading to nowhere. Nobody knows. Only silence knows the language echoes speak in this vast place beyond knowing. Or bones, teeth, hair, rib cages, skulls, toes, fingers here, or maggots here too. Do they speak some kind of music in this beyond world? Do they understand silence, the twilight world of myth, memory of water, earth, sky, wind, the memory of fire, earthquakes, thunder, the memory of storms, lightning, ice, the memory of creation, birth, death, the memory of everything here and gone, everywhere, a mystery is what we know is certain. An idea of something without shape or form, pulsating with what we know is power. It is a metaphysical presence. A blessing with what we know is the ability to heal and destroy this space we live in, only by its invitation, sanctioned only by its blessing. This place we've been born into with so much amnesia. On a Sunday for Amiri Baraka. I remember the oblong fruit, mango, papaya, in the photo of a lynched black man's head fixed above the exclamation point of his tadpole body, swaying easy in a tree in a gentle breeze. It is summer in my memory, warm, not yet swelteringly hot in southern steel country, Alabama, outside Birmingham, where John Coltrane blew hauntingly of 4 little black girls blown to smithereens on a Sunday in church. I also remember Chuck Berry playing guitar on a Sunday in the black seat of his white Cadillac car, driven by his red-haired black wife, cruising St. Louis blues streets, singing Roll Over, Beethoven, Tell Tchaikovsky the News. There's a new kind of music called rhythm and blues. On that Sunday, the sky was blue, as it was in my memory, where all things are elusively fixed, because nothing is ever permanent save change. Cobalt blue, sapphire blue, cerulean blue, when I saw the lynched man's head in the photograph oblique above the exclamation point of his tadpole body. It was a sapphire blue Sunday in the deep freeze of January when Barack Obama took the oath of office, became the 44th president of this divided nation in crisis. The voices of reason were thrown out the window like bathwater, soap, an infant in a small plastic tub, a bawling baby hitting the ground, breath atomized as vaporizing matter, misted into the air in a fog like an elegy. A Sunday, listening to punditry talking points hitting the fan on TV screens, their elegies leering all over the planet, richly paid for drivel, their infested dialogue, their blather like plagues, prattling disinformation sluiced through airwaves, zapping clueless people inside their atomized brains, glued as they are to these talking heads, flashing expensive dental wear, as they natter on their sharp-worn rhetoric in the cameras, connecting us to them through plasma TV screens on Glory Bird Sundays. And the blues is a way of life everywhere, even on Sundays, when all things are elusively fixed, even words of sermons, because nothing is ever permanent save change. The sky is sometimes blue as a sapphire woman wearing red, her hips moving from side to side, beckoning with her sensuous, sashaying hips. Come to me, Papa strut, seducing where the gospel of sweetness is elusively fixed inside a church, a juke joint. The music hot as her allure, hitting it, laying the mojo down, conjuring up wicked spirits as poets raising the roof from its foundation up into cerulean blue, sapphire blue, cobalt blue air. Preachers running the gospel down on Sundays with their sermons everywhere. People living inside their memories where all things are elusively fixed. But here, nothing is ever permanent save change after change after change. Nothing is ever permanent save change and the blue. I was a part of the Watts Writers Workshop, so all of us were in this workshop. So it's Where Have They All Gone for Ojinke, Irreplaceably, and K. Curtis Lau. Where have they all gone to? Those exuberant, edgy misfits, those glorious, madcap poets of precise inexactitude, those lunatic purveyors of transcendental flights through space, verbal hijinks, skywalkers of jazzified hyperbolic scatology, rhapsodic sleepwalkers selling screaming Jay Hawkins wolf tickets, echoing skull and bone dances of the homie voodoo smackdowns emanating from beyond watery graves of Middle Passage from the genocide of millions. All the spiritual six-fingered witch doctors brewing up revenge, secreted deep in hidden holes of linguistic thoroughfares, those sacred red-robed Wilt Chamberlain Messiah spiritual hunters who chase hunters of lions running free around Ngorongoro, Tanzania. I say, where have all the stark-legged, soothsayer space cadets traveled to? Disciples of sunrise bamboozling cloudbursts of words. Those smoke signal purveyors of mojo language hypnotized through music. Those schizophrenic soothsayers practicing loop-de-loop tom-toms. Rhythmic scavengers of esoteric metaphors stitched throughout knuckle-headed sentences. Illuminated by Yardbird Parker excursions through solos exploring outer limits of scatological space. Thelonious Monk comping along as acoustical solar sidekick, riffing only he knows what mysterioso piano licks. Where have they all gone to? Those insane rollerblade skaters decked out in silver asbestos suits and caps, wraparound shades, zooming, weaving through Manhattan traffic like long-range silver bullets. Those slingshot words magicians, loop guru wordsmiths, shooting out rhythms hidden deep in thickets of reared-back cobra tongues, who flick out hypnotic spells, undulating spellbinding tempos at seductive dances, where beautiful full breasts bob up and down like ripe melons, seducing like honey, lips dripping with sweet, lusting desire, licking, sucking kisses, tongues probing miles when passion sweeps down, overwhelming the senses as when in cunnilingus her body trembles, explodes. Where has Pamela Donegan gone to with her deep, loving, holy, gripping, sweet, seductive suction cup that caused men to howl anytime they came with her? Like mad wolves celebrating the moon. Where has Liama Sarah, Samuel Harris spelled backwards, disappeared to, who sat upon rooftops all over Watts, sniffing glue, talking shit to the sun, and writing incomprehensible, beautiful poetry? What about stilt-legged, tall and skinny, midnight blue Emory Evans from North Carolina, who walked around Watts wearing a long navy blue wool overcoat in 95-degree weather? who wore high-top black tennis shoes and wrote love poems to ants and broken-winged birds and everything that moved or didn't move? Where have Clyde Mays and Cleveland Sims gone to with their criminal schemes and quixotic over-the-top poems? As our lives unfold, switch, turn with cycles of sun and moon, seconds turn into minutes, into hours, into days, into years, people, scenes, events, time becomes history, erased from memory, if not recorded, written down, even when some fall through cracks or holes in narratives, fall victim to amnesia or even worse, Alzheimer's, where memory falls down into a black hole and is erased. So where have all those exuberant, edgy misfits gone to? Those glorious, madcap poets of precise inexactitude, lunatic purveyors of transcendental flights through space, verbal hijinks, skywalkers of jazzified, hyperbolic scatology, grace, rhapsodic sleepwalkers, selling screaming Jay Hawkins wolf tickets, echoing skull and bone dances of Dahomey voodoo smackdown, emanating from beyond watery graves of middle passage space. Where have all the spiritual six-fingered witch doctors gone to, whose spirits could not be locked up in a jar or even poetry? Have they all gone to chasing Erancides, the sun, moon, and stars inside their heads, even underground? This poem I started in a barbershop where I live in New York, down the street from me, and I'd go into the barbershop and listen to the old men talk. And so some of this comes from them, and then some of it comes from me, but most of it comes from them. What some old men keep telling me. It's all so bewildering, growing achingly older. Some old men keep telling me, when you become 70, suddenly you wake up and can't even pee straight. Find yourself slow dripping urine down the front of your pants, and you don't even know it. It's so embarrassing, they say, until you catch a whiff of that acrid smell assaulting your nostrils. They say the next time you will sit your ass down on the toilet seat and urinate like a woman. Then there's that thing about climbing up steep stairs or going down them straight-legged like a man walking on stilts. The frazzled muscles of your legs bunch up, lodge a protest in your brain in the form of muscle spasms. Charlie horses, then aching knees buckle and bitch, suggest the possibility of collapsing after you climb to the 5th floor with 2 more to go. They seem to be telling your brain, are you kidding me or what? You gone mad or are you stupid? Or all 3 things at once, doing all this strenuous shit. Don't you know about heart attacks coming in a spasm after you pass 65? Then there's the looming problem of lost memory stalking you, especially when you meet people who know your face, but for the life of you, you can't remember who they are. It's almost like some wire tips connecting all the essential memory links in your brain have suddenly burnt out, especially the ones connecting names to faces. Now you even forget titles of books you intended to buy when you visit bookstores. So you'll have to start writing everything down, just as that character did in 100 Years of Solitude. Sometimes you even call your oldest son your youngest son's name, just like your 94-year-old mother does with you and your brother now. Remember how you used to laugh at her when she did this? Then there's that fixation about whether or not to use hair dye every other week to cover up the advancing gray, turning your hair deep white down in the roots of your locks. What's next? Rheumatoid, arthritic fingers gnarling up, refusing to work. Even now you have trouble picking up dimes off counters, not to mention all those other body aches. Plus, that final horror for men, erectile dysfunction. Now you find yourself going to funerals if you want a busy social life. There are always a lot, but they seem to have tripled these days. You got to put a stop to all this by pursuing dreams you still have, burning with passion until everything just short circuits and the grim reaper comes around and cuts you down. And you go down to the underworld land of bleached white bones of memory. I plan to be burned up myself, reduced to ashes, sprinkled like seeds somewhere in the world. This way you can keep having fun, living a meaningful life. So don't worry about the small shit of growing older, because it's all gonna happen to you, embarrass you, as long as you get up each and every morning. A vision. The star speeding across a midnight sky is a voice in the shape of a glittering comet. A bird burning as if it were pulsating with a need of sex, as all these words carrying a primal scream, hot and dripping with longing. The star speeding across a midnight sky is a voice in the shape of a glittering bird burning as if it were a comet, pulsating with the need to explode. The illusion of seduction. Even when you sat in the glowing embers during that day as any other, the sun sinking quickly as the breath of a dying man, who felt the light dimming in his sunken eyes, lingered. Just for a moment, you remembered the soft touch of a woman's sweet lips you loved, and you lingered like a cool breeze on your flesh after she left, her perfume hanging in the air there like seduction. You remembered her incredible tongue licking so softly, so feathery light across your teeming body. It was so electric then. It's so electric now in your memory, as this moment is electric when you feel the beauty of language growing inside a poem, inside the incredible music of its reference. On the other hand, it is a different moment now, under this black sky filled with stars, silent as people walking around down here, imitating zombies. Where you sit, sifting through the wreckage of memory, you hear voices swelling from somewhere deep within, hidden crevices of an invisible stillness, perhaps inside history. Now a plunging hush when once there was a clamoring, a nervous cacophony filled with agitation, was marching people around the globe, speaking in one voice, waving banners, thrusting fists of all colors into the glowing air like pistons. Then the light suddenly dropped over the edge of the world during a sunset you remember, when the police surged forward wearing gas masks, looking like Darth Vader's swimming steel batons, cracking human skulls as if they were piñatas. And hidden behind their Sparta shields made people dance when they shot them with garrulous, voluble water hoses in the glowing light dropping over the edge of the world at sunset. In this moment here, this eerie silence, the presence comes rushing at you with the urgency of that garrulous water hose, drowning out all nostalgia. And you think of Guantanamo. Guantanamo. Oh, the shame of Guantanamo. Abu Ghraib, the silence of creeping national silence of voices, ignoring the known, the cold-blooded depravity of it all. The insulation we freeze ourselves into so we won't recognize the horror in front of us now. The silent drones hovering, slaughtering over Afghanistan, Pakistan. It's all so familiar as apple pie. The graphic scenes of a Tarantino movie, the impoverishment of spirit we find located inside ourselves. We have no language that speaks of it. And yet, you remember still the sweetness of her lips, brushing over your flesh like feathers of a bird's wing. Her incredible licking tongue lathering your body with its honey, its seduction of your teeming memory, made so electric by her touch. Her wondrous perfume hanging in the air like beautiful language inside a poem. And you linger over the remembrance of all of this. Feel hope is still here, there, as long as there is love. It's a poem called A Poem of Return, circa 2008. There is something sounding like the ringing of bells when you arrive. Its music clear in your heart. You feel the cleansing beauty of its wondrous tone rinsing through your weary body, carrying rivers of memories, sweeping over the familiar landscape until you come to the beloved place, the small house where so many moments are cascading waterfalls, moments shimmeringly green as Guadalupean mango trees are green after clouds drop buckets of rain, after the sun rises bright, clearing the darkness with its brooms of gigantic mystical beams of light flashing radiant, and you are there once again inside your head where everything seems serene in its place. Memories are seductive things, beckoning you back to the young woman you knew. As you grew older, their firm, lissome bodies ripple with perfection in memory, evoke volcanic desires as you wake up next to your wonderful sleeping wife, holding your body firm, her tenderness a bell ringing beautiful as any you have ever heard, a waterfall of spirits cascading through serenading songs of wind chimes reminds you of a very deep space that always springs alive in her, gripping from the very first moment you kissed her so many moons ago. She still holds you there, even now, in her warm, magical place of voodoo, her deep suction pool of sweet love, even while she is sleeping, too. There are moments within moments when you find yourself feeling at home, as in a smiling face of a stranger walking a road in St. Felix, Guadeloupe, on the boulevard St. Michel in Paris, when you see an old black man beautifully dressed in white linen, a red boutonniere in his buttonhole, starched white shirt, red tie, a gold tooth flashing like a razor in the front of his mouth, underneath a wire mustache, sporting snappy two-tone shoes, a bowler hat, and a silver cane, counting off the beat of his hip stroll. Two sleek, beautiful women strutting beside him, arm in arm, dressed to the nines. Their four pointy breasts are invitations like the stiletto nipples of the women in Wilfredo Lamb's surreal drawings and powerful paintings. The three of them, seductive, remind me of brash men and women I saw way back in childhood in St. Louis, Missouri, in the good old heydays of the 40s and 50s, when the Riviera and Peacock Alley were jumping clubs in high gear, with wondrously hypnotic people high-stepping it through galvanizing, innovative music, pulsating clean to the bone of rhythms, when everything about being hip was about style and timing, the promise of new days emanating, silver breaking from everyone's eyes, bright as scales of fish, glinting sparks when sunlight or moonlight dances off its back as it swam close to the surface of the Mississippi River before the stainless steel arc rose like an Indian bow, bent to its limit, ready to send an invisible arrow flying true into the heart of America's tortured soul. I hear crows caw-cawing now in the gray fetid air, blanketing the river's slow crawl through muddy slime. See pollution in the form of oil slicks snaking toward the choking mouth at the Gulf of Mexico, where future Carinas are waiting to scream ashore in the soon coming future, unleashing howling banshee winds and boiling water beyond anything even the most cynical had ever imagined. 37 years after John F. Kennedy came preaching the fresh, visionary good news at his inaugural, evoking dreams seemingly on the verge of really happening before assassination swept the giddiness away. John F.'s brains blown out in a motorcade in Dallas on a cold November day, 5 years before Martin was gone, like a wilted flower in Memphis, 2 years before Malcolm was snuffed out in New York City, 5 years before Robert Kennedy in Los Angeles, California, too many others to mention here, before vultures flopped down slowly from blue notes of storms, weeping all over schizophrenic America, land of the trouble, mocking the millions unfree. Still, great American music inspired many of us with Obama to move forward into a new moment with gusto. We heard again the genius melodies, memorable as moonwalks sashaying through the air in the strut of Baroque's language. So original, it began to spread like a great vintage wine. Everywhere you could hear its intoxicating rhythms, its matchless vigor, its Miles Davis elan, its coolness. Thought the nation had entered a new age, but we were wrong. Taps for Freddie, for Miles Davis, Freddie Webster, and Randy Weston, who told me the story, and also for Max Roach. When Freddie Webster died after shooting poison called White Girl through his body veins that burned like fire back in Chi-Town in 1947, he thought he was mainlining top-of-the-shelf heroin, but it was strychnine, maybe battery acid, bad shit. Meant instead for his good friend, saxophonist Sonny Stitt, who was beating everybody and their mama out their money he came in contact with to satisfy his own big-time junkie habit. Freddie was a junkie too, though he wasn't marked for death like Sonny was, though Sonny didn't know he was either when he passed on the White Death to Freddie as a gift. Freddie's death hit everyone in jazz like a lightning bolt, especially Miles Davis, who was as close to Freddie as a brother. So when he heard Freddie had died he freaked out because became inconsolable, like so many other players in the jazz music orbit. Now, 61 years later, down in Gosier, Guadeloupe, at the Creole Beach Hotel, May 26, 2008, on what would have been Miles's 82nd birthday. He's dead now too, since September 28th, 1991. Sitting out on the veranda, looking at the sea, the great jazz pianist Randy Weston tells me the story of how he, Max Roach, and the Prince of Darkness, Miles Davis, went out to Coney Island Beach to celebrate, remember the short life of their friend, Freddie Webster. And Miles, a junkie too back then, like so many others during those dark, bright days of music and death in the time of bebop, during the reign of the biggest junkie of them all, Charlie Yardbird Parker, whose example many were following, started walking to the edge of the beach, carrying his trumpet in a brown paper bag. He had pawned his trumpet case for money to satisfy his white girl habit. Randy said Miles walked slowly, deep in thought, head down, walked toward the sea, kicking up sand as he went. Then he pulled out his golden horn, pointing the trumpet bell east toward Africa, where he said Freddie's spirit was now resting. Blew a mournful taps for Freddie, who played a mean trumpet too, as the Atlantic Ocean foamed in waves of dying bubbles, like they bubbled from Freddie's mouth the moment he died. I want to read 2 poems about mangoes, because when you're in Guadeloupe, you know, mangoes are hip. And I had mangoes in my backyard, and my wife used to tell me, because I used to bring hundreds into the house, she said, we don't need but a few, you know, but I would be out there trying to get all these mangoes. And I call these poems, one is called Lusting After Mangoes, and the other one is called Second Take, Searching for Mangoes, Second Take. Both of these are for Margaret, my wife Margaret. This is the first one. I get up before the sun imitates a burst of fire, igniting a huge explosion as light sweeps all shadows into secret corners everywhere. It must be, as Miles Davis once told me, about timing. I must arrive precisely behind my house in the yard under the tree full of mangoes, a split second before the rooster comes leading his posse of hens, cute little voracious chickadees, right after the rats have abandoned the eating field, which is my abundant, sprawling, tropical backyard, where fresh mangoes fall in season, ripe beyond belief, like tender breasts, sweeter than a luscious kiss, succor from someone you love. You must be there on time, as the Prince of Darkness told me once, to gather that saccharine taste, those luscious sweet mangoes where they fell when the sun burst through yawning hours of the dawn sky, opening up with its cutting rays as would a can opener. A tin of candy treats you tasted once, and everything seemed new. As when you wake up, find your lover there, breathing softly at your side, succulent as a mango. It's a race against time in our backyard in Guayab, trying to beat field rats, ants, and chickens to the sweet prizes, delectable griffy mangoes falling from our 2 trees. It's a race against sharp, tiny teeth and beaks penetrating the hard green skins brushed with no rose yellow blush once they've nestled on the ground. Before the rats take healthy bites, the chickens peck holes in the skin, the ants stream through the flesh en masse. Wherever they find openings, they swarm all over the sweet nectar flesh, gobble up all the tissue, leave behind over time dried up leather brown corpses. They remind me of slain soldiers on a battlefield, littered underneath umbrellas of our twin trees, where the rats prowl only at night, the chickens only during moments of sunlight when it is safe. They fear attacks from packs of always hungry rodents. The ants come whenever they choose, and I only during hours when the sun is smiling. It is a race against odds too. Who knows when a strong wind will come, blowing through all those overloaded tree branches, shake loose those sweet mangoes, send them plunging toward an unwelcoming earth. So the trick for me is to arrive first at daybreak, right after the rats have eaten their fill, abandon the field before the chickens come out of their sleep to peck holes. The ants are always there, but need chicken holes to stream through. Just when the new mangoes have plopped down on the ground, ready for my harvest. It's all about timing, as Miles Davis said. Who gets there first enjoys the fruits of their labor, the sweet golden nectar of a mango's ripe flesh, succulent, luscious, beyond description. Just think about it. Just think about it. Sometimes all you need do is open a door. Walk through it, perhaps out into open space. Walk into the world, whether it's cold or warm, then go whatever direction your mind of erranticities takes you. Go quickly or slowly, but move resolutely through this moment with your eyes wide open, your wandering brain, but move forward towards something perhaps you haven't thought to do before. Whatever it is, let there be beauty in its spreading light. meaning. Open yourself up to new music, people, vistas, spontaneous improvisations of the day, rhythms carrying possibilities to unlock secrets of this moment. Perhaps will lead you to look into things, people you never focused on before you walked through the door. Perhaps the opening will reveal yourself to yourself. Revelation. Perhaps now you might feel different for the rest of your life. Thank you.